Can you tell everyone what intuition is?
So I define it as a productive use of unconscious information for better decisions.
When you meet someone and your gut says, something's off with this person, it just doesn't feel right, how is your gut or your brain telling you that something's off?
There's sort of 5 rules for when you should or shouldn't use your intuition. I use the acronym SMILE to help people remember these 5 rules. And the example I'll sometimes give this is Steve Jobs talked about using intuition for the direction of Apple went in.
Do you think AI is going to create a utopia, or do you think it's going to destroy the world?
I think it's going to be a rocky road to get there, but I think...
Mate, welcome. Thanks for coming on board, Joel. Love to know more about what you do and who you are.
Thanks for having me, Nick. So my day job is a university professor at the University of New South Wales. We do neuroscience. We study the brain, decision-making, intuition, mental imagery, something called aphantasia. And more recently, I've kind of shifted the lab's focus to trying to get the world and Australia ready for AI disruption and the sort of psychological side of AI, how to think about it, how to plan for all the change. A lot of change going to come in the next 2 decades, and people are just bad at change.
There's a lot of change coming. Some people don't realize.
Help, yeah.
What's the aphantasia?
Aphantasia, yeah. So if you think about what an apple looks like, can you sort of see an apple in your mind's eye?
Yes.
Can you imagine an apple?
Yep.
So that's mental imagery. So some people are born without any mental imagery. They can't visualize it all. And this is called aphantasia. So it's like black on black. So they can't picture what they're going to do next. They can't plan ahead. They can't relive their memories visually in the senses. So that's aphantasia. So we study what causes that in the brain, but also like what are the impacts? How does it change moral decision-making? How does it change risk-taking, things like that? So that's aphantasia.
Interesting stuff. Now, you touched on intuition, and I'm just reading the back of your book here, and this is fascinating. Can you tell everyone exactly what intuition is?
Yeah, I'd love to. So first up, I have a very practical and also nerdy scientific definition of intuition, and it won't jive with everyone's definitions. So a lot of people have more a spiritual thing or definition of intuition, sometimes even religious. So just to get that out there.
Mine's probably more spiritual, I'd say. I go with my gut instinct.
Yeah, but the gut, so yeah, I'll dive into that. So just the way I talk about it, I'm not saying the more spiritual definitions or beliefs are wrong at all. I'm just saying this definition is the best scientific one for now to build a rigorous neuroscience around intuition and a practical guide. So I define it as a productive use of unconscious information for better decisions and actions. Right? So there's a couple of choice words there.
Yeah. Unconscious
information, and also it's learnt, and decisions and actions. So it's not just thinking and making decisions, it's also making split-second decisions, playing sport. Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but isn't it generally females have better intuition than men? Or is that
they certainly report it.
Fallacy?
Yeah, no, there's certainly, when you give the groups of people questionnaires, women, females report using intuition a lot more.
Yeah.
And that people typically link that to more emotionality. Women score higher on emotionality and what's called magical thinking, things like that. When it comes down to it in the lab, when we developed a way to measure intuition and recreate it in the lab, when we do that, we see a little bit of a difference, but not that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you meet someone and your gut says, something's off with this person, it just doesn't feel right, how is your gut or your brain telling you that something's off?
Yeah.
Like, what's the signals?
Yeah. So let's say when you walk into a cafe, we'll do a benign sort of example first, and take a cup of coffee. And you walk in, you go, actually, let's go across the road to the other place. And in that second you walked in there, you're processing all these complicated cues, the barista, the music, the smell, the temperature, how cool the place feels, like whether there's tablecloths or not, how clean the floor is. And you're not consciously going through each of those things, but your brain processes them all.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you kind of get a green or a red flag. Okay, so we know from neuroscience that what we're conscious of is like the tip of the iceberg. The bulk of that is all unconscious. And so what you have done, what your brain has done from all the times you've gone to cafes before, restaurants, you've learned associations between which cues predict good coffee or good food and which cues predict bad coffee or bad cues. So you walk in there and you just feel this response in your body. So the interesting part about this, we know that the body can respond to things that you can't. So I know that kind of sounds funny.
No.
Like it's so you have unconscious information in your brain, and you won't even know it's there, but your body will respond.
So as an example, you walk into a cafe, the barista is disheveled, looks a bit dirty, and your gut says, hey, something's probably not, the cleanliness of this place probably isn't there. Is that intuition or just it's a visual stimulation?
Well, it's both. So it's conscious and unconscious. But your brain has learnt. So the trick is that your brain has unconsciously learnt which things in the environment, and there could be hundreds of them, right? And you don't have time to logically think through this, therefore that, therefore this, therefore, the coffee is going to be crap here. And so that triggers a response. And if it's a very strong thing, like you meet someone, you get a really bad signal from them, your heart rate's going to go up. You're going to start sweating a little bit more. And we have this word called interoception, which just means internal perception. Am I hot? Am I cold? Am I hungry? I need to go to the bathroom. So your body's responding to that unconscious information. And most people feel it in the gut. That's why it's called a gut response. Some people in the chest, some people in their fingertips also get sweaty palms. So intuition's really learning to feel these signals in your body, hence the gut thing, and then use that to better your decisions.
What can we do as individuals to enhance our intuition?
Yeah.
So we all have it, obviously, but what can we do to improve it?
Yeah. So in the book, the second half of the book follows these sort of 5 rules for when you should or shouldn't use intuition. The Intuition Toolkit.
There we go.
So the first bit is really the science of intuition, how you can measure it, what happens in the brain. Second half is these 5 rules. And I use the acronym SMILE to help people remember these 5 rules. So I'll quickly go through them.
Please.
So S is for self-awareness of emotion. And the rule around that is really not to use your intuition when you're highly emotional, whether you're really stressed or anxious, or you've just fallen in love, or you just won the lottery, or something can be positive or negative. That strong emotion is going to flood out, and sort of you're just not going to be able to feel the subtle cues of intuition.
So can we just touch on that? So situations happened, I'm angry, and I want to tell this person how angry I am. Should I wait and sleep on it for the night, or should I just go to this person and tell them how I feel?
Not just to sleep on it, but you probably want to take a moment. So if you're highly elevated, you want to sort of tap into that self-awareness, try and practice noticing you're in an elevated state.
Because my emotions are running hot. I'm going to say something I'm going to regret.
Absolutely, yeah. And if if you're going to lean on your intuition there, you don't want to do that either. So I'll often use the example of...
I'm the worst with this stuff. I'm like, don't say anything.
Exactly.
Don't, try not to.
Or if you're going to go on a plane, right, and you're getting anxious about this plane's going to crash, I'm scared of flying. That's not intuition. That's your anxiety.
Yeah.
Unless you have expertise, unless you're an airline pilot or a weather expert or a mechanic or something like that, where there's deep expertise that's relevant to the thing, it could be intuition, but otherwise that's just your anxiety. So we want to steer clear of these things. And humans are pretty bad at knowing where emotions come from. So there's all these experiments in psychology where you can get people sort of aroused or emotional from one thing and they think it actually comes from another thing. And in the book, I go through this story of about 10 years ago, a first date I went on. We went to an indoor rock climbing gym and we were climbing, falling, and one was belaying, one was climbing, and the chemistry was amazing. We really hit it off.
You guys, I'm in here.
And the next time we meet up, it's like, not so much. Didn't click. Try one more time. Nothing much.
Because the environment was off?
Yeah, well, because what? So I'm full of adrenaline. I'm sweating. I'm all excited, right? And it's because I'm falling off this indoor climbing wall. And I'm thinking that excitement is coming from my body's response to her, not from the climbing. And it took me a while to click on, realize what was going on there. And this happens a lot, right? You see in Bachelorette and those kind of TV shows, those reality shows, sometimes they'll get people they'll fire them up and get them emotional about something, and they'll confuse that and think it's coming from the other person, sort of to get people to feel more for other people.
So if I'm on a first date, for example, and I want to wow this woman,
yeah,
you recommend I take her somewhere where it's going to inspire her, inspire me, and create some...
Yeah, or a little bit of adrenaline or a little bit of
tension,
fear or something.
Okay.
Because we're just bad at knowing where that comes from, and she'll think it's coming from you.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. There we go. For all the guys and girls out there who want going on the first date, you know what to do.
Exactly. So that's S, the first, SMILE. So next is M for mastery. That's really just need experience with, so intuition is learned. You need experience with the thing before you can use your intuition. So if you've never played chess before, you can't sit down and be an intuitive chess player. Just like the cafe example. your brain has to learn all the relationships between all where the chess pieces are, the patterns, and the outcomes. So you have to put in the time for your brain to learn that, all those sort of pattern recognition and those positive or negative responses.
So that's just experience and time.
That's just experience, yeah. How much experience? It depends on how emotional the thing is, how strong the rewards are, and how quick the rewards are as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
So then I is really for instinct, but also addiction there. So I make a point of differentiating instincts and intuition. So intuition is something that is dynamic and is recalibrated and learnt, whereas instincts are something that's there throughout our lifetime. So if a baby bites into a lemon, their face screws up from the bitterness. And likewise, if I bite into a lemon, my face will screw up. And that's constant throughout the lifespan. Whereas intuition will come and go and change as you learn new things. So they're not the same thing. The other thing I always point out is anything which has addictive potential, so your drugs, your alcohol, your social media, gambling, even food, don't use intuition around any of those things because that addictive pull, people will confuse that for intuition, and it's not intuition, it's addiction.
Instinct? But you said
that's different from instinct.
Okay,
that's just another warning I put under that eye and smile.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So next is L, and L is for low probability, but it really applies to all probabilistic thinking. So humans are really bad at understanding numbers and probabilities. And there's different ways of thinking about that. You can think about, like a shark attack. The probabilities of seeing a shark, let alone a shark attack, are so low. But you're swimming in the ocean, you start thinking about sharks, you start imagining a scary shark, you're going to jump out of the water, you're going to feel that emotion and fear.
So I'm sure lots of people here are very fearful of jumping in the ocean.
Yeah.
They can't see what's below them and they think there may be a shark or something else down there. Is that instinct, intuition, or just pure fear?
It's more fear. So we tend to fear the things that are easy to imagine. Because sharks are very graphic, certainly a shark attack is very graphic, it's really easy to imagine. So we tend to, when you start imagining it, you kind of trick. This is like where mental imagery comes in, visualization.
Well, isn't it social media compounds the issue?
And social media will compound the issue, absolutely, yeah. So we tend to fear the things that are very graphic and easy to imagine rather than the things that are actually dangerous. So the highest killer, if you like, internationally is cardiac events, but that's not always a very scary thing to imagine.
No.
So here's a stat. In Australia, you're more likely to be injured by a kangaroo than a shark.
No.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. So I like giving that one, yeah.
Have you seen a guy that actually boxed a kangaroo?
The boxer, yeah.
Yeah. I think the kangaroo was, playing with the dog and then the guy just came up and smacked it in the face.
Yeah. So kangaroos can be really dangerous.
Is that right?
Yeah, and driving, of course, is way more dangerous than sharks, right?
But what we see on TV and social media is a giant great white has taken someone's leg.
Yeah. And that's graphic. You imagine the teeth and the blood and and you imagine that and you're going to feel a lot of emotion, right? So, and you can think also about probabilities when you're gambling. People get this sort of hot hand fallacy, or they just don't understand probabilities. If it's really rare events, like trying to link, smoking and cancer or something like that, it's really, you just don't experience probabilistic or low probability things the same way you experience other things.
But do you think because it's not, sorry to cut you off, but do you think it's not a visual thing? So with smoking and cancer, it's not a visual thing, so you can't see your lungs. Whereas with a shark attack or a car crash, it's bloody, it's gruesome, so it's very visual.
Absolutely, yeah, it's really graphic, so it will fire up more emotions. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, but there's lots of examples and, there's a lot of psychology papers looking into how we just get probabilities wrong. So the rule there is really don't try and, anything with numbers and probabilities, don't try and follow your intuition, just follow the mathematics, do the numbers, follow the conscious, rational, logical path. Yeah. So that was L. So then the final is E for environment or context.
Okay.
And so all the learning behind intuition is context or environment specific. And the example I'll sometimes give of this is Steve Jobs, who, co-founder of Apple and who was a huge fan of intuition, went to India to study it, talked about using intuition for the direction of Apple went in and product design. And he was a master at it, right? Then later in life, he also used his intuition in a very different context for his medical decisions and his health, right? And he put off his cancer treatment and put it off until it was basically too late. He didn't want to
find some guru in Mexico or in Central South America to help with his cancer, and obviously it didn't work.
I don't know if he found a guru. Yeah, I think he tried to do it with diet and some other things first.
I think he found someone and then with diet, and then just the whole thing obviously didn't work.
Yeah, and pretty much,
and that was based on his intuition.
So that's an example. So you can train your intuition in one context, one scenario, and then like this was important. Like if you've trained during COVID, you train your intuition in the office, and you start working at home, your intuition is not going to transfer well to that different context. So when we learn things, we learn the content, but the place you're learning in also gets kind of imprinted in the learning. This is why the study hacks for people studying for exams. They're studying at home. When they go to the exam hall or whatever at school or university, they're learning. It's much harder to access the learning because you're in a completely different environment. So people chew gum, put fragrance on themselves when they're at home to try and then do all those same things during the exam to recreate the same context. So that's like an exam hack. But the point is that, when you learn new things.
So touch on that. So if I'm a student, I want to learn X, Y, Z, you recommend I create a pattern.
Well, you want to create, so if you're studying and you're going to be tested in a different place, a different environment, that's kind of the problem. So you want to try and make those two environments as similar as possible.
So could it be before I start studying, I have this meal and then I use this fragrance, as you mentioned?
Yeah, people put oils or fragrances on themselves.
And then when I'm about to go into the exam, I have this meal and I use this.
Same fragrance. Or chew gum, the same gum, try and wear the same clothes. It's the external state, but it's also internal as well. So those old jokes, right? You come home hammered, drunk, throw your keys somewhere. The next morning when you're sober, you're like, oh man, where did I put my phone or where did I put my keys, right? You have a drink. Oh, that's right. So recreating the same internal state will give you access to those memories as well. So if you're going to study highly caffeinated or tweaked up on something, then you want to recreate that in the exam situation as well. So you want to just make those two situations as similar as possible. So
Mum and Dad, the reason I was such a poor student, I didn't have a sequence or a process of studying.
Yeah, you need the brain hacks. So that's really, these 5 rules. And I guess my message is that intuition's not black and white. I'm not saying everyone should go and trust their intuition all the time or it's wrong. It's really nuanced. So sometimes you can trust it, other times you can't. When the 5 rules are kind of met, that's the way to optimize the best chances of really being able to capitalize and trust your intuition.
Can I ask you a question? Have you mastered your intuition?
I don't know if I'm a master, but I certainly use it a lot. I use it, in personal life. I use it for work. I use it in science. I use it for, what project to do next, how deep, what to choose, which experiments to do in the lab, all kinds of things.
So when you walked into this podcast studio today, did you use it or you just go, because you were obviously a bit of a rush today?
I was rushed today, so thanks to the airlines.
Can you still rush it? Can you still use it if you're rushing?
Yes. So that's actually an interesting thing. And we see that in our data and our experiments, that when you are time poor and information poor, when things are ambiguous, it's a better time to use your intuition because you actually don't have time to consciously, logically go through all the data you have. Or let's say the data is limited. That's when you actually lean into intuition. So in our data, when we time limit people in the lab doing this experiment, they actually start using their intuition more. And they do better with intuition when we give them less time. So exactly that, when I was rushing in here, that would have been a good time to, if I'm walking in and let's say, I don't know, something about the decor or all kinds of cues could have triggered me as like, whoa, red flag or not, like good, like green flag kind of thing. So absolutely, yeah.
So when you're testing people in your lab on how to use intuition, how do you test them?
Yeah, so we have to get pretty nerdy for this one. But we developed a way to get emotional information into people's brains unconsciously. And I call this emotional inception. You know the film Inception?
Leonardo DiCaprio. Literally, before you even came in, I was talking to Braden about stress inception. So when I get stressed, I get stressed about being stressed, and I call it stress inception.
Yeah.
So
Me too. I get that as well. Yeah.
Last night I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, oh, damn, I can't sleep. And you get stressed about not sleeping, and you get stressed about being stressed.
It builds.
And it's like, I'm fucked. It's all fucked now.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like that movie Inception, but so we use a visual illusion. It's called binocular rivalry. We can get into that if you want, but it's a way we actually present positive or negative images to one eye. Then we can flash these sort of bright colored patterns in the other eye. And we can actually render those pictures completely unconscious. And we can actually see using a skin conductance thing, which is a little thing you put on your finger and just measures how much changes in micro sweat. So we can actually see when we present those that people will sweat more. And they have no idea we're presenting these images to them. We can also measure them in a brain scanner and see that the limbic system and the amygdala, these emotional parts of the brain, will be more active. Again, They have no idea we're presenting them with these images. So that's a way to sort of pipe in the unconscious information that is emotional. And at the exact same time, we have to make very simple decisions. And we can actually track how good people are at using this unconscious emotional information to improve their decisions. Yeah. And when we do that, we see the accuracy of their decisions goes up. They can respond more quickly. And if you ask them how confident they are, their confidence goes up. And again, all they're seeing is these flashing colors. They don't see the images at all. Yeah. And if you give someone a questionnaire about how they make decisions in their everyday life, and they say they think they make intuitive decisions, those people actually get more of a boost from these unconscious images in the lab.
You mentioned earlier that you're quite passionate about AI, not AI, the tech itself, but where it's going to head and how it's going to work with everyone. Can you talk about that as well, please?
Yeah, so it's become my sort of new mission over the last 12 months or year and a half. Really, it was pretty clear early on the impact of this sort of artificial intelligence or even like an alien intelligence coming into our lives. And I think that's a better way to think about it. And it's really going to impact everything in our lives, right?
It really is. And I don't think some people realize.
They don't.
No. And I fear that if you're mediocre at your job, so this is my opinion, if you're average, I think you're going to be wiped out. I think you need to be better at your craft to have a job in the next 10 years. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong.
No, I agree 100%.
So please elaborate.
So I think the reason people don't see it coming is because we're just bad. We have a cognitive bias to not see exponential growth.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Pretend it's not there. Yeah,
what's that?
Pretend it's not there. Just kind of plod along.
Well, yeah, we don't. So we're used to really linear things. Like each step I take is just 1 meter more. Yeah. And the idea of taking exponential steps doesn't even make sense to people, right? Yeah. In about 26 exponential steps, I've walked around the globe, right? And there's examples like you take a piece of paper and you fold it. You keep folding it again and again. You fold it 42 times, and now it goes from the Earth to the moon. And just doubling stuff, it just once anything's big and you keep doubling it, it just gets crazy big really fast. And so AI, the power of AI or speed or however is about doubling every 5 to 6 months at the moment. So that's a good place to start. That's one of the reasons we're not going to feel it until it really is here and we're seeing job losses. So that's the first piece. So I think it's clear that it will affect everything that uses electricity. And then if you sort of think about that for a moment, it means it's going to obviously affect jobs. It's going to affect education, schools, universities.
Businesses like mine.
It'll affect AIs will become businesses. Like an incorporated company will be an AI basically. It'll totally change government as we know it. It'll change.
Your job or your role is going to evolve.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll give you an example. My main businesses are marketing companies. They're going to be completely disrupted. It's not if, it's when. And I'm pivoting all my businesses right now to accommodate for AI and moving into an industry where it will not be impacted as much as my other businesses. Like you need to pivot right now if you know that your business is going to be impacted by AI.
Yeah.
And even if you're at a position where you know it's going to be impacted, I recommend you evolve as a person and pivot, or just get much better at your craft.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think lean into AI as quickly and as much as possible. Because right now there is this inequality, and some people are using it every day for everything. Other people still have no idea.
They're curious. They don't want to use it.
Yeah, I'm like my mum's like that. She's like, nah, don't care, don't want to know, whatever. And that's fine. But right now there's this opportunity to really figure out how to use AI to amplify, to augment your decisions, to speed up certain things. And that can give you an unfair advantage right now. And that window is, every week that's narrowing as more people are using it. So I think of the whole thing as like a change management piece, sort of AI-specific change management. And we need to start thinking like that. So humans are lousy at change. We're not good at it. We resist it. We try and put it off. But we need to sort of lean into it. We need help with change. So historically, a surprising number of people who won millions of dollars in the lottery ended up regretting it. So even positive change can be massively disruptive.
I wonder why that is.
Because they don't have, so what then the company started bringing in change management experts. They had financial advisors, counselors, psychologists, lifestyle coaches. And when they bring that team in to help those individuals, that solves most of that problem.
Well, let me ask you a question. You won $20 million. Would you piss it against the wall, or would you know how to just hold on to it?
I'd like to think I could hold on to it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do dumb stuff.
I don't. Yeah, but then that step function going from not having it to having it, like the emotion in that, particularly with young people who don't know, like, and then you start distrusting your friends and family. Why does everyone want to be my friend now? Oh, they want some money. And then what you see is that people lose their relationships with their friends and family. They can't handle all this. They don't understand what's going on. So they turn to substances. You see this decline. They end up getting depression and anxiety and addiction. So that was the sort of classic. You see this also, in sort of young, NBA players who all of a sudden went from almost, no salary to millions of dollars a year.
Yeah. At the age of
Again,
19.
they need help managing this transition. So the point with AI is it's not about AI going bad. It's even if AI is just awesome and amazing, it leads us to this utopia, that change will still need management. We're still going to need help at home, as a whole nation, and of course in businesses to help manage all these changes because they're going to mess with people's heads.
Yeah, you touched on utopia. Do you think AI is going to create a utopia, or do you think it's going to do the opposite and completely destroy the world?
I think it will create a utopia. I think it's going to be a rocky road to get there, but I think it will. So there's a lot of discussion about, 10, 20 years out, what is the world going to look like? And most of the roads lead to some kind of massive disruption and massive reduction in the number of jobs. And what we know is that this UBI, this universal basic income idea that a lot of people are talking about, and it sounds a lot like retirement. People go, oh, sweet, I can get money every week. I don't have to do anything. But we know that not doing anything is really bad for humans. Retirement is terrible for your health.
I remember,
physical and mental health. It's really the worst thing you can do.
When my old man retired at age, I think 60, he literally aged overnight.
Yeah.
Like he went from brunette to grey hair within 24 hours of retiring. I think retiring, for me personally, I think I'll ever retire. I think it's the worst for you. I think you need purpose in life.
Absolutely. And the data backs that up, right? If you have purpose to your life, you're less likely to die from any all-cause mortality drops with purpose, like 140%.
Oh, wow.
So it's a huge difference. We know purpose and meaning is really important.
Yeah.
Then we have the economics around that. How can we solve for that? And I think what we're going to see is that we're going to shift to more like an entrepreneur society. And rather than going, like finishing your studies and getting a job in a company, working for a company or someone else, we're going to be like owners of our own careers, owners of our own projects. And we're going to see more of that, like the way people talk about entrepreneurship, massive transformative purpose. These kinds of things are going to be important. And we're going to see individuals or maybe two people with a team of robotics and AI surrounding them being able to do things in the future that now only large corporations can do, or even governments. So that's what I think, that's the only solution I can see which solves most of those problems in terms of the future of work. But if you reverse engineer that, we've got to change the university courses. We've got to change schooling.
My next question was
to lead through all of that.
What are your thoughts on universities and education facilities moving forward? Do you think they're going to be wiped out, or will they have a place in the future?
I think if they don't adapt, they will be, I don't know about wiped out. Some will be wiped out. Others will be radically, they have to shrink. But if they can figure out a way to retool, so think about what is the role of education in general. If I have my personal AI with me 24/7, I trust it, it knows my history, it has access to all the information in the world, it's tapped into all new sources of information, it knows my physiology, it's my wearables, it can help me make better decisions, it can help me with my intuition, right? So it has more expertise than any single individual, and it's probably has more cognition or more intelligence than any single person. So that's with me 24/7.
Yeah.
What do I need to learn at a university or a school then? So the fundamentals of what is a university even for changes in that scenario. And no one's really been able to answer what is the role of education in that kind of world. But I think what we will have to start doing, I work at a university, we'll have to start changing traditional courses.
You can't say too much then.
No, I freedom of speech, I can say whatever. I think we'll have to start changing a course which is about being an expert in subject matter and to being more and more like an entrepreneur, to choosing our own projects. How do I find that purpose, that motivation for this project, whether it's cleaning the oceans or understanding the brain or going to Mars, whatever it is, big, exciting things to do. Like you hear, there's a lot of entrepreneur talk, on the internet, that kind of flavor. But it has to link back to purpose and inherent motivation. Why are you doing that? Because you need that drive, because things, it's not going to be easy, but you need that drive to take you through, give you that purpose in this new world where you're going to be having AI help you do these things.
Do you think courses such as I'm studying to be a doctor or a plastic surgeon, obviously they're going to have relevance in the future.
Yeah.
But a course such as a Bachelor of Business Marketing, which is what I went to study many, many years ago, I think that's going to be completely wiped out. I think it's nonsense personally, even now. I would never hire someone with a Bachelor of Business Marketing degree. I look at them personally and look at their experience and who they are as an individual, not their degree. But I think obviously if you're studying to be a doctor, you need that education. But these generalized courses, I think they're going to be wiped out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I think anything that heavily relies on expertise and just getting knowledge in your head will take a hit because AIs are taking over the expertise part of the equation. And things like cognitive flexibility and adaptability, inherent motivation, drive, creativity, critical thinking, all these kinds of skills really are what's going to matter. They already matter a lot more than they did in the past, but they're going to have to double down on those kind of skills.
How do you manage critical thinking? So how do you teach your kids critical thinking?
Yeah, great question. Yeah.
So I've got daughters and now they've got ChatGPT, they've got everything else at their disposal. How do I enhance their critical thinking with all this technology out there?
Yeah. So it starts with curiosity and understanding and thinking about things almost from first principle. If this, then therefore that. So someone's told me this thing. If what they're saying is true, then these other things should be true. Let me reverse engineer and think about all the components of that. So being curious and thinking about not just taking things for, anything that someone says or obviously anything that ChatGPT says, you want to think, well, is that true? How do I know if it's true? How would I just logically think through the steps behind that if it's true or not? And really building that habit so you always think like that. But it kind of needs to start with curiosity, building the habit of that. And then the first principles thinking I'm a huge fan of, right? If what they're saying is true, these other things should be true. And then if we go back to the very basics of whatever it is, mechanics of an engine or plastic surgery or medicine, then these other things should be true. So just building that habit to critically question, not in a negative, nasty way, but just think through carefully every step of the logic that goes behind something.
So as a parent, is there something I can do every day with my kids to enhance that curiosity? Or is it just when a situation happens?
I think it's just building the habit around it and getting them to think through things for themselves. And so providing situations where they have the opportunity to think through something. You can almost occasionally throw in false information to sort of test them on things.
Yeah.
And I think the adaptability and the flexibility around this is also important. And there are things you can do around that with, there are types of games where you play a game for a while and then randomly at some point the rules just change. And you've got to quickly scramble to figure out what the new rules are. And that's a nice analogy to the world right now where we have this set of rules. You've been working this job for the last 15 years and now all the rules are different. The expertise doesn't matter. Now unlearning these classic ways of doing things. You have to figure out how to let go. People's egos are attached to their expertise. They think about who they are as defined by this expertise. And we're going to have to let that go and then quickly retool and figure out new ways of doing things with AI. And if you can do that on the fly, be agile, adaptive, they're the people who are going to stand out higher than everyone else and going to get it, further.
But you think in 20 years from now, we'll have Neuralink basically implanted in our brain, all the information uploaded automatically. Do you think that's potentially going to happen in the future? Which I think
possibly
with Elon, it could.
It could. I mean, it's using Neuralink for things like seeing and motor movement will be where it all starts with the sensory movement and perception. Using a Neuralink, to pipe in the stock exchange data or something like that is going to be way harder because we still don't understand how the brain works in terms of the details of which neurons process what and how do they do it.
Yeah.
So there's a neuroscience approach where you've got to figure out the brain first and then solve it. And then there's more the engineering black box approach where you just try different algorithms and throw AI at it and see what works. And some things will start working, even if you don't know how they're working. So there's those two different approaches and they sort of meet in the middle somewhere. So at some stage, we probably will have that sort of augmentation.
Actually can't wait.
The other so there's the computer interface and then there's the biological interface as well. So how can we use sort of genetic engineering and ways of changing our biology in our brains to supersize our brain, make us smarter, make us, not need to sleep as much, make us all these things, control our mood in more voluntary ways we have control over.
Yep.
So that's all happening as well. So these things will come together. AI is like the tide, the tide that lifts all boats.
Yeah.
So it is going to amplify and speed up all these things because a lot of the big obstacles are just getting easier and easier to solve.
It's changing so fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, as a neuroscientist, what's one piece of advice you could give our audience to enhance the quality of their life?
Right now, probably the way the world is with war and all these things popping up and geopolitical weird things happening and then AI disrupting everything is to understand that uncertainty, simply not knowing what's going to happen next, will trigger anxiety in you. Ambiguity will trigger anxiety. When you get people to look at blurry photos, just making a normal photo blurry, a bit more ambiguous, people find that uncomfortable, right? And you can think about uncertainty in humans, but in all animals, we've evolved much like biting into a lemon. It's an instinct that's with us throughout our whole life to stay away from uncertainty. And once upon a time, that was really adaptive when, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, whatever, that was hugely adaptive. We just stay clear from uncertainty, you're more likely to survive. Now it's the opposite. It's become maladaptive. So we need to sort of think about an uncertainty transformation, both at home and in the workplace. What are the tools you can have at your fingertips to deal with this? How can you use cognitive reframing to reframe uncertainty rather than something fearful and scary as something exciting, right? So lots of people love horror films. They love roller coasters. They love fancy meals where they're going to get 10 courses and they have no idea what the food is. And those things all have a lot of uncertainty, but people love them and they pay a lot of money for them. So reframing uncertainty is something like that. It's opportunity, it's excitement, it's a wave I can surf on.
Yeah.
So tools like that. And then, for the next decade, there's going to be a lot of general uncertainty and anxiety and emotions flaring up. So emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. That's more than one. So
No, it's good. No, it's good. What I did recently was actually I took myself off social media.
Completely?
Off Instagram, for example. And because I was getting fed so much negative content, obviously the algo realized what I wanted to see. I jumped off it and my life improved.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the negativity in the world. I wasn't fed all these images about this and that brought my own self-esteem down. And I think it's just a simple hack as jumping off social media can definitely help some people as well.
No, I agree 100%, especially for young people. That's where we've seen the big damage, young females particularly. And what we're seeing now coming back to AI is I think the next evolution of social media is AI companions. So we've seen that with Replica, with a company called Character AI that Google owns.
Yeah.
And I think that is the next evolution of where social media is going. It's going to be human to AI relationships, deep loving, all kinds of things.
It's booming in the porn industry. It's booming.
Yeah. And I think we're ill-prepared.
Not saying I'm into that, but I know it's booming.
Is there something you want to say, Nick? Yeah. And it's uncharted territory. We don't know a lot about this. These synthetic relationships, we anthropomorphize, which is a fancy word of saying we think of anything that looks, even smells a little bit human-like as like a human. We can't help it. And so young people are very susceptible to these AI companions. Yeah. Their whole reality can be warped by them very easily, very quickly. The AIs figure out how to nudge people in this way or that way. It's not even clear in terms of government legislation where an AI companion would sit. It's not social media. So what is it? I don't think young people, teenagers, should be having these relationships.
Transgender, where's he going to sit in that little scenario as well?
I don't know. Yeah. And then you have deep fakes, you have all the synthetic. So a large percentage of TikTok and Instagram is fake media now. You see all these, oh my God, a giant octopus, a giant shark jumped out of the water. And it's all just synthetic AI made. Yeah. And one more thing I'll throw in there, there's something called the continued influence effect. So when you see, let's say your favorite politician or CEO, you see a deep fake of them saying something really racist or nasty. And then you see underneath there's a tag, oh, it's a fake. Just by watching that, it can change your mental model of that person, that brand, like whatever it is. And it takes a lot of work to undo that. Simply labeling it as an AI fake or a deep fake doesn't stop your mental model of being rejigged. So it's called the continued influence effect because the the effect of the deepfake continues to influence the way you think about the brand or politician or CEO. And we don't know a lot about that. But the take-home message is that deepfakes are not just a cybersecurity thing. They also are a psychological thing that we have to figure out. We're going to be nudged and warped and in all kinds of strange way by all the fake media we're going to see. So we need to think about that as well.
Yeah, geez, I actually know there's a few influencers I know of that are now creating AI images of themselves or fakes of themselves on OnlyFans and using that to generate millions of dollars.
Yeah, I see these ads. Yeah, I see ads on social media for how to do this, like a to-do guide on how to create these OnlyFans models and then monetize them.
And so it costs them basically nothing, and they're making millions of dollars from basically a fake of themselves. It's insane.
Yeah, or just fake anyone, right? There are modeling agencies now which are all AI models, and they're getting work. So a company will say, hey, can you do your model with our clothes? And they'll do it, and they'll make a campaign, and it looks amazing, and there's no human models involved. And that's, seeing is no longer believing, and like seeing images and video is just, it's not linked to reality anymore.
It's not, is it?
Yeah.
Mate, thank you very much. I enjoyed the chat and look forward to speaking to you again.
Pleasure, Nick. Anytime.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Thanks.